You should hear what keeps him up at night.
This is what keeps me up at night. I don't understand how my fellow Americans, I don't even understand how this election is close. And yes, I'm voting for you, but I would also vote for that wall over there.
Well, he's half right. We do need a wall. You know, to keep out gang members, fentanyl dealers, human traffickers, and Anna Navarro. What's funny, though, is that Stern actually thought that was a compliment. Stern has become such a wussified sycophant, he doesn't realize that telling Kamala that he'd vote for a wall is telling her that he knows she's as dumb as one.
Howard Stern built his empire on shock rebellion and tearing down the establishment. But when Greg Gutfeld took aim, the so-called king of controversy went radio silent. No comebacks, no fire, just awkward silence echoing louder than words. In a stunning live moment, Gutfeld did not just call out Stern's evolution, he exposed it as a full-blown sellout. The rebel had become the system, and Gutfeld lit the match. What happens when the uncensored icon gets out-rebelled on his own turf?
That's how Stern can call snacking with celebs at a fancy restaurant exhausting. Exhausting. Like he finished the overnight shift in a coal mine. Or hearing Kat talk about her pets.
Fair.
But I get it, life is tough, especially when you've been cut off from the world for 2 years in a $20 million beach house. I mean, you have no idea how tiring it is walking all the way from the wine cellar to the tennis court and back.
There are TV moments you forget, and then there are ones that crash into pop culture like a meteor. Loud, fiery, and impossible to ignore, the clash between Greg Gutfeld and Howard Stern was one of those moments. It was not just a war of words, it was a collision of two media worlds. Stern and Gutfeld came from completely different planets, but only one walked away looking like he still belonged in the stratosphere. Stern may have worn the crown of king of all media, but that crown started to slip.
But it is incredibly brave to take this stance after you've made $300, $400 million not being woke. Right? Loving Donald Trump, exploiting the mentally ill, wearing blackface. Look at the crop of woke comics, whether it's Stern or Jimmy Kimmel, his BFF, Sarah Silverman, Joy Behar, Michael Ian Black. What do they all have in common? They wore blackface. And then they went woke. It's not a chicken or egg thing there. You know what order it came. So I call this BFR, it's blackface reparations. There's nothing in Stern's previous career that could withstand this modern witch hunt that he now embraces. So this is a form of restitution. Maybe he says, you know, if I'm woke too, the crocodile will eat me last. But they always do eat. But I get it. He flipped from populist to elitist because now he's with elitists.
Once a pioneer of shock radio, Stern made an empire doing what no one else dared. He was the brash voice of rebellion, the unfiltered conscience of a generation tired of polite society. His name became a symbol of disruption and controversy. People either loved him or hated him, but no one ignored him. Yet there is a danger in staying on the throne too long. The edge begins to dull. And Stern over the years has slowly changed in ways that left his fans confused.
I will say this, Dagan. I thank God for Howard Stern because he does make me feel normal by comparison. Because I'm like the Fox recluse. I don't do anything. I don't go anywhere. But he makes me look like, you know, Pete Davidson on a...
Yeah, he's a germaphobe. Like, his wife rescues cats. That's her job, apparently, her thing. But you can get toxoplasmosis.
That's true.
Cryptosporidiosis.
AIDS? No, you can't. But
you can't get. But you can get.
I mean, what are the chances I get that again?
Like a lot of diarrhea related.
He went from a loud, rebellious outsider to a soft-spoken celebrity interviewer. The Howard Stern of today feels more like a polished talk show host than the firebrand he once was. That shift gave Gutfeld an opening. Gutfeld, who mixes political commentary with comedy, is no stranger to confrontation. He dissects and exposes with sarcasm and satire. So when Stern landed on his radar, it was not just a casual reference. It turned into a targeted takedown that cut deep.
on his radio show, Howard Stern defended wokeism, saying it's a compliment when someone calls him woke. Listen.
If woke means I can't get behind Trump, which is what I think it means, or that I support people who want to be transgender, or I'm for the vaccine, dude.
Gutfeld did not just criticize Stern. He framed him as a warning. The message was clear. Stern, once a fearless rebel, had become the very thing he once fought. In Gutfeld's eyes, that is the worst betrayal. Selling out. Playing nice. Becoming the machine. Gutfeld never shouted. He just cut through Stern's image with the precision of a scalpel. The wild-haired chaos machine had become a polished brand ambassador. And all Gutfeld had to do was point out the obvious.
But Stern being holed up in his house that long, it explains a lot of things. Like how you forget how other people live, especially in hard times like a pandemic. For the longest time, 2 years in fact, the same time Stern's been AWOL, I wondered where he went. Not physically, but mentally. I bet you did too. Remember his screeds about COVID? They were epic and angry, and not to mention wrong.
When are we going to stop putting up with the idiots in this country and just say, it's mandatory to get vaccinated? Come, their freedom. I want my.
Stern once wore defiance like a badge. Now he seemed obsessed with approval. From Hollywood. From corporations. From mainstream fans. That is what made Gutfeld's critique sting. His show lives on irreverence. So when he took aim at Stern, it was more than a jab. It was a verdict. One voice accusing another of losing its soul. Stern had no reply. No comeback. Just a silence that roared louder than anything he could have said. Gutfeld did not need to win the debate. The silence won it for him.
Watch them on Saturday Night Live with the where they have Maya Rudolph playing you. I hate it. I don't want you being made fun of.
Oh my God.
There's too much at stake. I believe the entire future of this country right now. I mean, as America, land of the free, home of the brave, I think it's literally on the line.
So a guy who's supposed to be funny for a living now claims her candidacy is too important to joke about. This is a guy who once joked right after the Columbine massacre that the killers should have raped the students before killing them. Not that I like that, Stern, but this pendulum swing from saying the most tasteless thing in the universe to putting your balls in a Tic Tac container. You gotta wonder what's going on here. It's striking that the king of the most misogynistic humor ever now turns into a breathless over a progressive, hopelessly shallow candidate.
Stern built his name during a time when rebellion meant FCC fines and being banned from networks. That pressure gave him power. Gutfeld, by contrast, came up in a world of cancel culture and online outrage. He fights with sarcasm, not shock value. This clash was not just personal. It was generational. Gutfeld represents the meme-age rebellion. Quick cutting and viral. The audience saw it as a trial without a judge. Just two giants and millions watching to see who still had teeth.
Happy Friday, America! Oh man, tonight is a special night. It's Feminine Friday, where all the panelists are women. Tonight we have Kennedy, Megan McDowell, Eric Tim, and Janine Garofalo. A long way for a mean joke. Okay, I hope you had a good week. I did, and no thanks to Howard Stern. True, the New York Post reported that Stern hit a chic restaurant in NYC with a crew of A-listers, including Jimmy Kimmel, Jennifer Aniston, John Hamm, Justin Theroux, Jason Bateman. I was not invited.
Gutfeld praised the old Stern while ripping apart the new one. The real insult was in the comparison. The old Stern would have destroyed the soft version, now doing gentle interviews in designer sweatshirts. That old firebrand would not have recognized the man he became. To Gutfeld, Stern had gone from cultural flamethrower to Hollywood lapdog. Muzzled and manicured. And once people saw that contrast, it stuck. Social media exploded with reactions. Not because of exaggeration, but because it felt real.
Stern got even more pathetic, wondering how she doesn't nap.
When you said you don't nap, I get it, because like what you've taken on is extraordinarily difficult. And I mean, do you feel the pressure of the moment in the sense that, like when I met you out in the hall, I said, I'm really nervous because I want this to go well for you. I want it to go well for the country.
Hold on. I need a minute.
It raised bigger questions. Can any rebel remain rebellious forever? Is it inevitable that firebrands become what they once hated? Gutfeld suggested the problem was not that Stern changed but how he changed. It felt like a move for safety, not growth. The man who once feared nothing now seemed afraid to offend. The one who mocked fame now chased it. And Stern's silence only deepened the impression. It looked like he had nothing left. Or worse, that he agreed.
This definition of woke, it's if you call someone a know-it-all, you're not complimenting them on the breadth of their knowledge. You're saying you don't know as much as you think you know. So yeah, woke doesn't have anything to do with vaccines. What it really means is sort of a slavish devotion to left-wing ideology and then repeating it so you can get social credit.
Right.
That's really what it means.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're smarter than anybody. And he had said in another part of this that, because I believe in the science. Well, if you believed in the science, you wouldn't be hiding out like Howard Hughes in your mansion.
Stern once mocked phoniness. Now he looked like he embodied it. He said he believed in science yet hid from public life like a recluse. His silence after Gutfeld's jab was not resistance. It was confusion. In a media world built on reactions, that silence was damning. Gutfeld stood back almost smug. He knew the punch landed. He did not need to gloat. The internet did that for him. Clips and comments exploded online. Not just mocking Stern, but confirming Gutfeld's takedown.
I always hate that argument, like, what happened to the old Stern, or what people have changed. That's not what this is about. It's a weird disconnect.
Well, he hasn't changed.
No.
People have been calling him insane for 40 years.
Yeah,
that just used to be, this guy's nuts. And now they're like, oh, we're worried about Howard. He needs help. But I'll tell you though, I'm a little sympathetic because what you said is correct, but I'm also a germaphobe.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just have a smaller apartment.
Yes.
So it's like
This was more than a personal feud. It was a mirror held up to the media world. Gutfeld rose using the same fire Stern once used. Now that fire had cooled in Stern, legacy media is drowning in self-censorship. Gutfeld fills that vacuum with bold, blunt truth bombs. Where Stern plays nice, Gutfeld goes full throttle. In the wreckage of modern media, it is not just who shouts loudest. It is who sounds real. In that moment, Gutfeld looked like the real one. Stern looked like a shadow.
Striking that the king of the most misogynistic humor ever now turns into a breathless over a progressive, hopelessly shallow candidate. But maybe that's the explanation. This is Stern's self-imposed penance for subjugating women to demoralizing stunts, capitalizing on desperate females thirsting for attention, even if it's from an oily paddle striking their bare asses.
Whether that is fair or not does not matter. In media, perception is truth. The real question is what comes next. Does Stern find his fire again or keep drifting towards soft applause? And does Gutfeld take the spotlight as the new face of no-filter commentary? One thing is certain. The torch has changed hands. Maybe it was passed. Maybe it was ripped away. Either way, the moment marked a shift. The jester had called out the king. And the king had no words.